Hi, I'm Chris Morgan, and welcome to the second leg of a once-in-a-lifetime adventure across Alaska, into the lives of the wildest Alaskans, bears. I've studied bears for years, and in part one of our series, filmmaker Joe Pontecorvo and I set out to spend a summer immersed among one of the greatest concentrations of brown bears in the world. But as summer was coming to a close, we headed north to Anchorage, the biggest urban center in Alaska. It's the last place I would expect to see a bear. Not a good situation. Hey, bear. This bear is frantically searching for something. She's behaving like when they lose their cub. I think it's time to get in the boat. These are the bears of the last frontier. It's going to get a lot harder for me, for Joe, and for the bears as we head out on the road north in part two of Bears of the Last Frontier.
Nature is made possible in part by Canon. Take your inspiration from nature. Leave it untouched by your presence. Capture its image and preserve it forever. Canon, living and working together to appreciate today and care for tomorrow. Additional funding provided by the Lillian Goldman Charitable Trust, the Philemon M. D'Agostino Foundation, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
It is said that the longest journey begins with a single step. Mine began the very moment I came face to face with this remarkable creature. Bears are powerful, intelligent, complex, yet wildly misunderstood creatures. Alaska is one of the last places left on Earth wild enough for bears to thrive. All three species of North American bears are found here: brown bears, black bears, and polar bears. My name is Chris Morgan. I've dedicated half my life to the study and conservation of bears. Now, I've embarked upon a 3,000-mile journey into the heart of the bear's world. With me, my good friend and filmmaker, Joe Pontecorvo.
Rigging one of my really expensive cameras to your bike.
Together, our goal is to peel back the layers of myth and misunderstanding on this complex creature. I spotted another bear, and because the bear is downwind, he doesn't recognize who it is. To better understand their personalities. To witness firsthand how they live today, and what the future might hold for the bears of the last frontier. Our adventure began along this isolated stretch of the Alaska Peninsula. Left alone, this remote coastline has become a city of bears. For the past several months, Joe Pontecorvo and I have been living here among these massive coastal brown bears. It's really opened my eyes to what these animals are. But this is just a fraction of Alaska's bear habitat. And as engrossing as it is, it's time to head north.
cloudy like this throughout the day. Chance of rain later on this morning, and then rain likely this afternoon. But we're going to hit a high of 65, which is nice. Winds up to 10 miles an hour.
Brown bear crossing the road was struck by an SUV near 19th Avenue and Gamble Street. Officials are taking steps to reduce the number of bear encounters. The number of bear-proof trash. The bear jumped over a fence into the woman's yard on Yellow. Life officials captured one of the cubs that belonged to a brown bear sow, killed 2.
Alaska is bear country.
This is the furthest from any bear habitat I could imagine. Yet here, in this sprawling metropolis, wildlife thrives. Anchorage is a large city, by far the largest in Alaska. Yet it's still dwarfed by the state's wilderness. It's a coastal city that sits at the base of a massive state park. This confluence is what brings wildlife into people's backyards. Moose and black bears have woven themselves into this urban setting. They've laid claim to the asphalt and manicured lawns. But it may be more wild than Anchorage has bargained for. The city struggles with an identity crisis. People in general come to Alaska because of the wilderness that it promises. And yet, a city by its nature is meant to continuously grow. In these neighborhoods bordering the state park, dogs are generally the first to notice a black bear on the prowl. This youngster streaks silently across streets and through backyards in search of an easy meal. Still, as he hops fences, he manages to draw a crowd from the residents, excited by his visit.
This is a very clean neighborhood. There's not a lot of garbage out. I do see a few cans that are out, so that's not good.
Where can we go up here in pursuit? Of course, for Rick Sinnott of Fish and Game. Oh yeah, this is looking like backyard bear habitat for sure. It's just Tuesday.
Right there.
This black bear has become a regular visitor, and Rick wants to make sure he stays out of trouble. But keeping up with him is no easy task. This little bear has no problem scaling fences 3 times his height, and makes being chased seem quite casual. People in Anchorage are told to keep their bird feeders empty come spring. But bears smell the seed been soaked into the ground below and seek it out, returning to familiar spots from seasons past. Birdseed seems like an unlikely draw for bears, but it's full of protein and fat. A very appealing snack for a black bear.
We're trying to referee the interface between civilization and people and nature and wildlife. And it's a rough boundary in Anchorage because we're all interspersed.
Oh, right there. Right there.
Yeah.
He's surrounded by bird feeders.
Bird feeders, that's why he's up there, yeah. Those feeders are really high, but it doesn't matter with the bear. They'll climb the tree, they'll climb the side of the house. They want that bird seed real bad.
Unbelievable, you know, that they can hang a bird feeder out the window there, that high up, 2 stories up. You would think that it was well out of the reach of a bear.
No.
But look how high up the tree
They'll
is.
climb the side of the house if they have to, but those trees are pretty convenient right there.
There's a ton of seed down on the ground.
Yeah,
there.
it's spilled, yeah. He'll pull them down and knock them down.
It's the last place I would expect to see a bear. There's people around everywhere, and it's a regular neighborhood.
Yeah.
And there he is.
But
Do you see this kind of thing much in neighborhoods like this?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah. The bears get in this neighborhood several times a summer. And,
Yeah, you must have every neighbor calling at that point.
not everyone. It's surprising. A lot of people kind of enjoy it. They don't want to call because they're afraid we might shoot it or move it, and they would rather have it here for a little while and enjoy it, take pictures of it. But others are, flabbergasted and not happy about it. So we hear from both sides, actually, the people that are not happy and the people that think it's really cool and just want to let us know.
Interesting. And what do you do in this situation? What's next?
Sometimes if we're close to the park, just like a street or two, we can chase him. But otherwise, if you try to chase him here, he'll just run in circles and run up every tree that she comes to. And you can spend all day here just chasing him from one tree to the next. Not good. Not a good waste of my time.
Exhausting and unproductive.
Yeah. We can, we'll just follow around for a while.
This black bear may spend several hours perched 20 to 30 feet up this tree and is very comfortable maneuvering about the slender branches. Despite being 200 times the weight of an average squirrel. The tree is a small token of safety from people and from other bears. And they'll use it as a shield before darting through open areas.
So in many cities, you have pigeons and rats that have adapted to people, and they become problems or conflicts. But in Anchorage, it's the moose and the bears that have adapted to people. They eat their apple trees, or they tear up their garbage, or they threaten their children.
Rick and his team have become the referees in a seemingly endless game between wildlife and people. It's a delicate balance, and knowing when to make the right call isn't always easy. Across town, Rick's partner, Jesse Coltrane, is on patrol.
Hey, did you see a black bear run through just now? Okay, yeah. It really isn't a 9-to-5 job, even if I go through a day where I actually work the regular hours that I'm supposed to work. Fishing game is Jesse. Your brain never shuts off. I'm like a trash radar. I can drive through a neighborhood, I'm like, trash can, bird feeder, trash can, bird feeder, trash can, bird feeder, pellet dog food. I have a loyalty and commitment to this town and to the wildlife of this town and to the people of this town, and so it's more of a life than a job. And so I'm just gonna take them and put them in this field across the street where they'll be a little safer. That way they won't get hit by a car and they're fenced in. That one keeps hitting me in the head. As Anchorage grows, it does get difficult and we lose habitat. You know, there's more roads, more development. That does make it more challenging. People really do appreciate the wildlife that we have in town. Even people that say, come get this bear out of my yard, if I ask them, well, did you take a bunch of pictures of it first and email those to your family or friends in the lower 48? Oh yeah, they did.
Better go on. Get out of here.
One of the biggest differences that I've seen with bears this year is that we've had more bears taking up residence in Midtown. And those people in those neighborhoods aren't used to seeing bears, so they're a little more adamant about removing the bears. Oh, I see. Oh, can I use your ladder?
Sure. Fishing game.
Unfortunately, when bears find their way into Midtown, they rarely find their way out without some help. No, he's just right here. He's just a little feller. Even if it isn't a huge public safety concern because the bears really aren't doing anything bad, just their presence there causes people really to be alarmed. one. Look. It's a little girl. She would have probably just ping-ponged around in there for the majority of the summer. In order to get out of that neighborhood, she's have to cross some really heavy 4 to 6 lane roads. She wasn't doing anything that I thought would warrant actually putting this bear down. It was just in her benefit just to go ahead and move her on out of there. We should go before she wakes up.
Okay.
Yeah, and we gotta get gas.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there's really not a lot of good places to take a bear. We just try to take her as far away from people and neighborhoods as we can get. So we're driving her up here to the edges of Chugach State Park. What do you think, 180 maybe, 170? 180?
Oh, there's a stick.
It's okay, come this way. Woo! She's coming out of the drugs. She'll recover her front end first, and then she'll slowly get her back in, but she's still really light. She never really went down hard, but I imagine she'd be moving or sleeping this off within 45 minutes at the most. What do you think, Val? Yeah.
Hey, Jesse, let's just sort of stay back and just kind of get her to boost her towards the woods,
Oh,
maybe.
she's off. Can you run fast with that camera, Joe?
You know, it's insane. You drive around this neighborhood and there is so much green space here. And the mountains feed the wild animals, moose and black bear and brown bears at times, right into people's backyards.
Right now, there's this huge brown bear.
And if there is garbage, or bird feed, or compost, or a barbecue to keep a bear there, then they'll find themselves in a lot of trouble. Look at that. Not good. Not a good situation.
Go on, go on.
She's on the other side of this trailer. Nice. So, there's a good chance you'll stay in there?
No.
There are hundreds of miles of trails throughout Anchorage, heavily trafficked by people and wildlife.
Yeah, it's really surprising because, you know, you see all these tracks, but it's just kind of a pocket of wilderness that's surrounded by residential areas.
What do you think, dog or bear?
I'm voting dog. This one looks a little more like bear, but I mean, it could be both.
Oh, the one that you found.
The one I found actually looks like bear, and what you found probably is dog.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on. Anchorage is one of the few cities with a healthy brown bear population. And during salmon season, brown bears dominate these trails. But you'd never know they were here unless you were looking for them. For the most part, brown bears avoid people, often stepping off a path moments before people pass through. Black bears, on the other hand, have learned to adapt more readily. This boldness has become challenging for Rick and his team.
Bears are very curious and experimental animals, and they learn fast, as fast as we do. You'd be amazed at what's in people's garbage, and then you start seeing every garbage can as an opportunity. Come on. He's not the least bit afraid of us. Go on, shoot, 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 shoot. I'm surprised we don't have hundreds of bears, you know, cruising the streets, getting in garbage cans and making life hell for everybody. But it's just a few. He'll have this one down next. Sunflower seeds. He'll trash that next. A black bear is like a 200-pound raccoon. You know, you don't want to mess with them, but they're not looking for, they're not killing people in a defensive mode. You know, we're not blasé about it, but we're trying to address the problem by reducing the garbage and not just by shooting or moving black bears.
Despite all that Rick and Jesse are doing, the reality is that the bears here will become more and more urban. And what does that mean? Is it a bear that instinctually looks both ways as it crosses the street? Knows when garbage day is in their home range? A mother bear with young cubs is a home range of just a few miles. And in the city, that means her cubs learn to be comfortable in whatever environment that is. humans have a real uncanny ability to try and control their environment, you know. If you move into bear country, does that mean that you take everything that bear country brings with it? Or are you willing to take steps that actually enable you to live in that wilderness area? Or are you less inclined? Do you want to control your environment more where you live? Really does come down to that one question. How much wild are people in Anchorage willing to tolerate? Black bear cubs might leave their mothers as early as 1.5 years old, much earlier than grizzly bears. So these little guys will learn to forage right away. Most of their diet is plant-based, but they'll feast on insects whenever they have the opportunity. Hey, Bear. This family probably spends a lot of their days in busy neighborhoods. But here, in the stillness of the park, she seems cautious as I approach. She's obviously a habituated bear. She spent a lot of time around this neighborhood. But I bet she dips into these backyards for treats every so often, unfortunately. Of course, all these bears have their own personalities. And this guy, fresh from raiding a log, could care less that we're here. Yeah, I wanted to know that we're, hey, Bear, it's okay. Yeah, we're still here. It's just us. You know, it's kind of interesting. I think she looks less concerned when she can hear our voices. If she just hears us moving through the bush, well, we could be another bear till we open our mouths, and then she realizes it's just us again. One of her cubs seems much more cautious, which will probably serve her well. While her bolder cub finally catches up, much more casually, and still speckled with sawdust. I've already figured out that she's a pretty easygoing black bear. She really doesn't mind us being here. In fact, she might take some comfort out of it because there's also brown bears around, and she perhaps knows that we'll help keep them away. Oh, look, they're playing. I know, imagine these cubs, it's all they know. This will be all they'll ever know. They'll have their entire home range and spend their entire life right in this park and in those yards that surround this area. It's quite an incredible thought, really. Wild animals in an urban setting. For these little guys, this is a new normal. It doesn't matter if it's a tree or a picket fence. They're as amused by the flies inches from their nose as they are by those thousands of feet in the sky. I hope that there'll be a place for them in Anchorage. I hope maybe other cities will learn to accept bears in the same way. I'm looking forward to the wide open spaces of Alaska's interior. The very wilderness that inspired me from the start. It's fall now, and it won't be long before the bears den up for winter. I'm heading north to Denali National Park to find out just how tough life is for these interior bears.
That's fairly miserable.
Motorcycles are not allowed in Denali National Park, only enclosed vehicles. Too much of a temptation for bears, I guess. So I have to trade in my 2 wheels for these 4 wheels.
Yeah. Looks good. It runs all right, does it?
Runs okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it.
There's only one road into the park, a 92-mile dirt track. A speck in Denali's 6 million acres. A park larger than the state of Massachusetts. For the wildlife, it's all about altitude. From the tundra below to alpine above. Every ecological niche is filled here. And to survive, you've got to keep on the move. Stay alert. And always stick together. The secret to survival? Animals need plenty of room to roam. Dall sheep are icons of the park. But it's Denali's remarkable diversity that draws roughly 400,000 visitors here each year. You have to keep your eyes peeled every second.
See that? You got it? She's not running from us, she's really agitated. She's in this brush here somewhere, and we've lost track of her now. She's really covering some ground.
There she is.
We've just come across this bear, and she is frantically searching for something, looking everywhere and smelling, and she's also doing this anxious huff. She's going, and she's behaving like other females that I've seen when they lose their cub. I'm going to pull forward a bit. She's so erratic, it doesn't look like she's running from another bear. If she was, she'd be looking over her shoulder at that bear, but she's just kind of all over the place right now. Really looks like she's looking for a lost cub. She's got her head and her nose down now, sort of looking. Oh, she's found her cub. That is magic. She's found her cub. Can't believe it. You know, when I was saying she looks like a female who's looking for a lost cub, I meant that it looks like the cub was probably killed. But it looks like maybe she just had literally lost the cub in this massive berry patch here.
Just look how excited they are to have found each other. They are so much smaller than the brown bears I'm used to seeing along the coast. And these guys have this shaggy golden coat and chocolate brown legs. It's a coloration that's common among the females here. They're called Toklat grizzlies, named after the river that runs through this valley. Just beautiful. Subarctic summers are short, and in just a few weeks, Denali will be in the grips of winter. Temperatures will dip to a chilling 60 degrees below. Animals must be resourceful to survive it. For wolves and the other Denali predators, this is a plentiful time of year, and the last chance for an easy meal. Arctic ground squirrels are busy fattening up for winter, sometimes doubling their body weight before hibernation. While food is still plentiful, wolves are busy caching some of their kills in order to spend more time hunting, and perhaps to feed their young pups. Red foxes are very efficient predators, and largely responsible for keeping the rodent population in check. While they have excellent hearing, no sense is more finely tuned than their sense of smell. Foxes are opportunistic critters, and they'll even poach other animals' caches if they sniff them out. It must be bonanza time for these foxes during the summer, because in the wintertime they don't hibernate, but many of their prey species do. Look at their noses to the ground the whole time, and they are incredibly alert looking. Those massive ears, always listening for prey. Well, almost always. They do find plenty of time to goof around. They look so mischievous. These two could be partners. Red foxes are monogamous and often mate for life. It's comforting that they have each other in this enormous landscape. The first difference you notice here from the bears along the coast is density. There are 20 times the density of bears along the coast as there are here in Denali. These bears are spread out across the park, making it much more challenging to track them down. Two steps forward, 3 steps back. There's 2 beds here. This is probably the female's bed, and that was probably a cub. There's a pile of scat right by your boot there, Joe, so this is probably a really good vantage point. Gives them a great view across this whole valley, and they're nice and safe from competitors and big male bears that might threaten the cubs. It's a good spot to be, actually. They'll spend the rest of their season grazing this hill, stocking up for winter, while the berries are still on the branches, and watching their neighbors passing through town.
Look how milky this river is. All of this silt was brought downstream from the glaciers. And the salmon can't survive in water that is this thick with silt. You think about those coastal brown bears right now gorging themselves on giant, fat-rich salmon. And their cousins here in the interior are eating berries. Ah, here are some of the berries that the bears love to feed on. This is one of their favorites. This one's called crowberry. And these bears will focus on these berries so intently they can eat 100,000 of them in a day. There was 10. The grizzly bears have those huge prehensile lips, meaning the lips aren't attached to the gum, and they make really efficient plucking tools. More efficient than my fingers, that's for sure. They absorb the sugars through the skin of the fruit. Sometimes they don't even crush it. And it always blows my mind to think that these bears can survive, and not only survive for the summer, but see themselves through a winter of hibernation as well, on a diet of largely berries and grasses and sedges. Grizzly bears were very smart and very adaptable. They put those claws and those digging muscles to good use, and they were able to really diversify and make the most of the species that are available seasonally here as foods. That's the epitome of success for a wild animal. That you've been able to persist over this huge duration of time. You've watched glaciers come and go. And you're still here. John Muir once wrote, "To the lover of wilderness, Alaska is one of the most wonderful countries in the world." For me, Alaska is a place of solitude, a place to inspire and rekindle your spirit. Even here in the wide open spaces of Denali, a mother bear's home range can overlap with people. She probably walked this same path when she was a cub. While a particular scent has gotten Mum's attention, the cubs are still wary, keeping a watchful eye on the busload of tourists. Perhaps this is Mum's way of introducing her offspring to the strange new smells and sounds of the human world. Teaching them, as her mother most likely did, that people are not a threat. What is it? Which way are they even looking? Oh, there she is. She's a pretty confident mum, and her cubs are not far behind. Wow, he's close. Bold little guy, look at that. It's up to the bus driver to temper his curiosity by just the slightest movement. The two of them look like trouble. It's rare enough to see a grizzly bear in the wild.
but to watch a playful moment unfold in front of you, it's a remarkable thing. These siblings play with a combination of both strength and affection. It's this very dichotomy that makes bears so fascinating and complex. For some folks here, these may be the last wild grizzlies they ever see. Quiet moments like this are the kind you leave silently, reluctantly.
There's nothing nonchalant and easygoing about these guys. I can't imagine them taking a break. They're probably feeding day and night from now to when they den. And it's cold now. It's, what, 10 o'clock at night? And you can really feel the cold in the air. I wouldn't want to be a bear here.
Winter is just around the corner. And as tough as the bears have it here, it doesn't hold a candle to Alaska's North Slope. Further north, a whole new species of bear has evolved to cope with an icier world. I'm headed to polar bear country. And there's only one way by land to get there. The Dalton Highway. Shadowed for over 400 miles by the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. It's the most remote highway in the United States.
Pretty straightforward journey so far, but I've reached this really incredible landmark, the Arctic Circle, 66 degrees, 33 minutes north. I've still got about 320 miles to go till I reach Prudhoe Bay. And a lot of gravel between here and there. There's a definite bite in the air this morning. It seems like every mile I head north, the temperatures drop and the closer we get to winter. So I'm at Atigun Pass, really isolated pass that crosses the Brooks Range, and it takes you from one world into another.
Leave the stunted spruce trees behind, and you enter this prehistoric-looking landscape. It's an Arctic desert. I've seen just a handful of caribou along the pipeline, but many thousands roam the surrounding tundra. Critters have settled down along this desolate stretch of road. And for a night or two, so will I. can't help but imagine what wild country this was before the road went in. And really the only reason this road is here is in support of the pipeline. It's windswept and desolate, but this is grizzly bear country as well. I've got about 150 more miles to go to the end of the highway. And I'm sort of in this fight against time right now, trying to get up to the North Slope before the weather locks this place down for the winter. Muskoxen are out, enjoying the last fleeting days of fall, taking advantage of the fresh grasses and leaves while still above ground. The Inupiat Eskimos call them Umingmak, meaning the bearded one. But I've got to push north, take advantage of this weather while it lasts. These guys, on the other hand, welcome the coming winter. They are built for the Arctic and thrive in temperatures of 50 below. Makes me wonder what I might be getting myself into. The last section of the road before you hit Prudhoe Bay is dead straight, and you feel like you're driving through the middle of nowhere. And after, riding for hundreds of miles, suddenly there's a sign of civilization there. On the horizon, at the edge of this continent. It's a strange feeling when you first see the glimmer of lights through the fog of Prudhoe Bay. It doesn't look like any normal town at all. It's this cross between a truck stop and a space station at the end of the road. You can go no further in Alaska. This is where it all stops. I'm relieved to see that there's some carefree life on this giant slab of concrete. And much like our furry little friends in Anchorage, these young Arctic foxes are making the most of their surroundings. It's a testament, really, to their spirit. They contend with this frigid climate and mankind's footprint. And they seem to take it all in stride. Nowhere else on my journey have I felt man's impact more than here. Here, at the very edge of the Arctic Ocean, in one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth, a city has emerged. 18 times the size of Manhattan and growing. Prudhoe Bay is the largest oil field in North America, pumping out over 600,000 barrels of crude oil a day. The impact of climate change is felt strongest here in the Arctic. It seems like such a desolate place, made more so by the acres of cold metal and steel. But in the shadow of this giant industrial wasteland, there's a tiny glimmer on the horizon. This frozen oasis is the home of the polar bear. Soon, the ocean will freeze. Days will turn to nights. And while the rest of the bears sleep, the season of the polar bear will begin. They will head out into the darkness, across the frozen ocean to hunt. And that's where I'm headed, into one of the most inhospitable places on Earth, where my next adventure begins. At the very edge of the North American continent, in a world completely alien to most of us, a new adventure is about to unfold.
Bear is right down this trail here.
Polar bears are ice-loving creatures.
They're testing the ice conditions to see if it's firm enough, and it's not yet.
For a species already on the brink, polar bears will have some tough times ahead.
She's got her nose in the air and she can catch my scent. She's moving over here with some determination. I think it's time to get in the boat.
Don't miss a single moment. Now you can watch nature online. Go to pbs.org to screen complete episodes from this season and seasons past. Visit Nature Online for production updates from the field.
Well, here we are on the Alaska coast.
Go behind the scenes with our filmmakers.
We also used a borescope lens, and that allowed us to put the lens right into a flower.
And get connected with nature's online community. All at pbs.org.
Nature is made possible in part by Canon. Take your inspiration from nature. Leave it untouched by your presence. Capture its image and preserve it forever. Canon, living and working together to appreciate today and care for tomorrow. Additional funding provided by the Lillian Goldman Charitable Trust, the Philemon M. D'Agostino Foundation, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. To order this 3-part nature series on a DVD Blu-ray set or the companion book, call 1-800-336-1910.